Welcome to Tramlines, a podcast by Agrii. I'm your host, Tony Smith, and today we're live here at Cereals 2026, recording at Diddley Squat Farm near Chipping Norton. Agrii have just unveiled their concept of the Smart Connected Farm. And to help explain what that's all about, we're joined by Rachel Watling. Rachel, good morning to you.
Good morning, Tony.
So, good morning to you, and tell us more about what is the Smart Connected Farm. Talk us through that concept.
So the Smart Connected Farm, it's not another platform and it's not another concept, but it is a system that we have launched to support farmers in their digital journey. We've got data, drones, sensors, satellite imagery, a lot going on. Farmers are going to be interested in some parts of that, and they're all going to be on a different part of their journey. So it supports them in exploring that part of things for their business. So we're going to take you on a bit of a tour today around the Smart Connected Farm. So we're going to start with Kathryn, one of our agronomists. So the people element, who are at the core of everything we do. Then over to R&D, and we'll talk to you about where we invest so that you don't have to in your business. Then to seed, where it all starts. Over to nutrition, where we nurture that crop. And then back to the engine room with our digital farming product, Contour.
Yeah, it sounds really good. Where's the best place to start, do you think?
I think we'll head to people.
So let's go and visit Kathryn and, come with us on that journey.
Brilliant.
Okay. So just now, Rachel introduced us to the concept of the Smart Connected Farm and talked about how important people and agronomy are within that concept. Tell us more about that.
So I think we're in an age where we've got a lot more digital innovation going on, and the Smart Connected Farms is all about bringing that innovation and all of that information together. And where agronomy comes into that is taking that information and finding a way that we can use that to push farm performance into the future and progress what we're doing on farm by having that data and using it to the best of our ability.
So it is that data that's going to help the agronomist give even more precision in their advice, is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's looking at things like variable rates, which we've done for a long time, but it's making those more precise and really honing down into the detail of that information. And something we've been guilty of in the past is that we've got all of this data, but actually we haven't had a function to be able to use it. And Smart Connected Farms, we're going to get into that era now where we can use that data to really drive those farms forward.
And just now, in terms of talking about digital data, you mentioned that word AI.
Yes.
So what's your answer to how AI can fit alongside people in terms of that decision making? What are your thoughts? I know you've got some.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, so AI, it's an ever-evolving part of the industry, definitely. And I think there is definitely some pros and definitely some room for improvement, let's say, with AI. And I think ultimately, as an agronomist, I don't feel like AI will ever replace me, but perhaps an agronomist that is using AI could do that if we don't get onto that information source that is there.
And when we talk about farming, how important is it that trusted advisor is listening to that farmer's need? In other words, the impact and influence of people?
Yeah, so I think from an advisor point of view, as agronomists, we obviously talk to a lot of different farmers. We see a lot of different farms and fields and different situations and scenarios. And only somebody with boots on the ground is going to be in a position where they can see all of those different scenarios and functions. And that is the key skill of an agronomist, is it's taking all of that situation and scenarios and putting that forward as experience to what is in front of you and what is the best thing to progress forward with this crop. And that's not necessarily something a computer can do. So it's something that we should be using the technology, but ultimately the people need to be there at the forefront to then put all of those different things together to go forward.
And just to wrap this section up, so to speak, as an agronomist yourself, how does it feel when you look at that data, you talk to the farmer and you're able to give that really precise advice, or as best you can in this world of farming with the weather and everything as it is? How does that feel?
You mentioned the weather, and so it always goes hand in hand with thinking that you are doing the right thing, but the weather then won't necessarily mean it is the right thing, but you have to make that decision on the day, and you use that experience with it. But ultimately, once you've got a decision right and you're making the right decisions with the crops, using that information and that data to the best of its ability to push the performance forward, there's nothing like it. When you get results for farmers, that's the best thing. And essentially, we work in partnership with the farmers. We want the farmers to do well, because then we have a business to be working forward into the future with.
Thank you, Kathryn. We're now going to go on to the next element of the smart connected farm. Thank you. So we've just talked to Kathryn about the role of people and agronomists in taking the smart connected farm on farm, so to speak. And joined here by Ruth and Jonathan to talk about R&D. How does that fit within the smart connected farm, Ruth?
So Agrii invests a lot within R&D. We have got everything from the glasshouse that we've just invested in to run very, very small trials on the minutiae of how a product works, how we can fast screen elements so that we don't take everything out into the field, so that we're able to very quickly decide what is of a benefit to a grower or not. And then we take that through to small plot work where we can very scientifically and robustly test that we've got statistical differences between treatments, which means we know that we are seeing return on investment for those products. We'll then take that through to demo plots where we'll be doing tramline trials or half fields or whole fields with growers so that they can see the benefit of those trials. And to be able to do that, we've invested in 30 different eye farms from the north of Scotland to Dorset and everything in between. So we look at every weather type, every soil type, every crop that we need in those environments. And that all adds together, adds up to about 450 trials, running about 55,000 plots every year. And we put a lot of effort into those to make sure that we can develop the programs. That means we take the risk in all of those so that you don't have to, so that the information that our agronomists bring you detail exactly where we're seeing the benefits from all of our trials work.
Yeah, and from the farmer's perspective, trying to reduce that risk in farming at this time is really important, isn't it?
Absolutely. And because we look at everything from the mode of action, so how does that product actually work, through to the return on investment, when we actually have that in a growing field, real life, proper machinery, proper size, then we're able to develop all of that advice the whole way through, from that absolute minutiae right through to this is exactly what you're going to see on your crop in your field.
Yeah, and just to say, it's a big part of Agrii, isn't it?
It's one of Agrii's major USPs. We've been running trials for decades, and we develop them constantly, year on year. We're never looking at the same thing. It's never just about what does a product do. It's about the whole system. It's about how we bring in the chemistry, the soil biology, the pathogens, how we manage all of it, and how we get all of those interactions to look with each other. If you can grow a healthy crop, there's some bits that you don't need to do. Depending on what the weather's doing, you'll add in or take away. And we do that within a lot of our trials. They're not fixed at the beginning of the year and it doesn't change. It changes depending on what the weather and the year brings us.
Yeah, very interesting indeed. And Jonathan, let's bring you in here because you've been very much looking at the digital side, the innovative side of, well, new technologies, haven't you? Tell us more about that.
Yes, exactly. No, that's my job within Agrii. I kind of horizon scan for new technologies. I work out where they might be useful for our growers or our agronomists or our researchers, depending on the technology. And we put it through process. So we have a process where we have the Innovations Technology Group. That's a group made of people from around the business with lots of different expertise in fruit, veg, arable, digital research. And these people basically come together and assess whether these technologies may or may not be useful in this kind of environment. And if they are, then we'll then move them on to our testing process, which kind of helps filter out the technologies from the wheat from the chaff, if you like.
And for how long have you been doing this type of R&D?
So we are within our third year now with testing on farm. So this is all on-farm testing, field scale work, or replicated work, depending on the need of the technology. And yeah, we've been working across 5 sites now for a number of years. So we're getting lots of data, and we can really start to use that data to inform how we kind of derive our strategy, which then filters through down onto farm.
Very exciting indeed. Ruth, in one sentence, how would you sum up what R&D means within the concept of the smart connected farm?
So the R&D provides us with a huge amount of data. And at the end of the day, the smart connected farm is all about this data. And it's all about how we can take any of these technologies and build the jigsaw that you as a grower needs to put together for your own farm. Not every single grower will want a drone, a satellite imagery, a robot, or any of the technologies that we're looking at, but everyone will want part of it. And it's then bringing together all of that data into one space. Doesn't matter where it comes from, we will work with everyone. But we can then use agentic AI to help collate all of that together, deliver that information and extra knowledge to our agronomists, who then can go through that and make those final decisions with you on strategically what works for your farm.
Yeah, fantastic. So we're now going to move on to talk about seed, because after all, until we've got the crop in the ground, we don't have anything to work with, do we? So we're now going to go on to talk about seed. So as Rachel said, she talked about seed as being a key element of the smart connected farm. John, obviously we think of seed as being vitally important, but tell us about how this fits within the smart connected farm.
Well, like you said, everything starts with the seed. It is so many decisions are made around that variety choice, and that dictates how your season's going to play out. I think from the smart connected element, it's the intel we have, the ability to make the right decisions based on data that might be different to what other people have. But we believe, that's good quality data, and we can make better decisions with our customers.
And there's lots of people giving advice on varieties, isn't there, Rob? But what makes your advice different? Looking at all the work that you do, all that R&D that you do, what makes your advice on varietal selection different?
What makes our decisions and our input different to others is our linked up approach. We're using traditional agronomy, so agronomists are using varieties out on field. They're bringing that information back to the R&D team. We've got a nationwide R&D team with trial sites across the country. We're bringing that forward with more modern technology. We're bringing in drones as well to monitor crops, monitor plots, trial plots, monitor disease. We've got tussock sites around the country, and we're bringing together all of them different ways that we can use, traditional ways, modern ways, to bring all that data together, and then also use that data in a linked up approach to bring it out to farmers on our platforms that we do have available to us.
Yeah, and John, if I can go back to earlier in the season when we were talking on Tramline's podcast about not just the varietal selection, but then looking after those varieties by understanding the characteristics in the ground. You were passionate about that in terms of farmers getting it right, weren't you?
Yeah, because we all need to be successful in business, don't we? And yeah, you have to get it right. There's a lot of things going wrong. So yeah, I think, forewarned is forearmed, and having the right data, having the right discussions around what you need to do on a farm level, what the agronomist needs to do, what the approach is going to be, means that ultimately, we're more likely to be successful.
Yeah. And just to finish up on, Rob, you're passionate about the quality of seed that you sell, aren't you?
Very much so, very much so. Anyone who knows me, my passion is the Master Seed brand. We're the cleanest, the best seed there is in the market, and I'll just encourage everyone to look up the standards that we work to, and yeah, once you go Master Seed, you'll never go back.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much indeed, gents. I'll leave you to a very busy event here at Cereals, and we're going off now to our next element of the Smart Connected Farm. So now we've moved to nutrition, and I'm joined here by Tom Land. I'm going to ask the question, so when it comes to the Smart Connected Farm, where is the fit for nutrition? I know it sounds like an easy question, but how does that fit within this concept, Tom?
Well, it's a perfect fit. Yeah, of course it is, but in terms of the Smart Connected Farm and its relationship with nutrition is allowing farmers to make quicker decisions earlier. And rather than making a retrospective decision based upon what happened last year, our seasons and our crops are coming more challenging. Weather conditions are creating more problems. So using that advantage around understanding where potential limitations may be early gives the grower the opportunity to target that focus, maybe to try and mitigate what might happen further down the line. So that whole connection between maybe picking up what does the crop look like at the start of the season, what are the challenges around potential limits around soil nutrient status, how do I fit that in with the products I've got in the shed, and where do I target my investment in my crop. And most growers are thinking, I'm going to be targeting something very early next season given the weather conditions that I've probably seen in the last few years really. So very much giving the grower that ability to make a well-informed decision early rather than being reactive. So that's where I see the real benefits, really, Tony.
And the connected element, I guess, is connecting to the agronomic advice, to the seed that's in the ground, the varieties in the ground, what's happening on that individual farm, how we're using digital technology, the R&D that's helped us develop that nutrition. This is the connection, isn't it?
Absolutely, and it's all bits of the toolkit that you can put together to make a management decision on what you're going to do on a field specific level or even a zone specific level. But it also enables for people like me to take a virtual look at the farm without actually physically going out into the field as well, i.e. I can identify the biomass of the crop, so I can determine whether we need to focus nutrition earlier or whether we need to think about using nutrition or technologies that might help maybe slow down the release of those nutrients, allowing more time for uptake. So I think there's plenty of bits of the pieces of the toolkit that the grower can pull together to make a well-informed decision.
Yeah. And you've also been developing the Agrii brand, as it were, of different products and offers. Tell us a bit about that, because that's part of your nutritional offer, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I think what we're certainly noticing is where growers are starting to use more technology to make better informed decisions. A lot of the questions start to come up around, well, looking at the levels of maybe things like phosphorus in my soil, how can I get more out of what's in my soil? And that's where we start to bring in technologies like release that help to increase the availability of P to the growing crop. But then also when we start to look at nitrogen and nitrogen management, we can look at variable rate nitrogen, but also we have technologies like LiquiSafe, which is an active ingredient that helps the grower to put more nitrogen on early, but also fits in with variable rate N applications where you may also be applying more N to one part and less N to another. So it helps to improve that whole NUE piece. So we match a product range to the individual requirements that a farmer might have. So we kind of can take stuff off the shelf and have a grower pick and mix what he needs to use, really.
And to wrap this up, so to speak, in terms of this element of nutrition, in terms of the smart connected farm, these differences in terms of fine-tuning can make a big difference in terms of that farm's P&L, can't it?
Absolutely, and ever so more the focus on costs and the focus on where do I actually make that spend. The smart connected farm enables that grow, and the simple thing for me is you look at this season, looking at how much captured N was in canopies at the start of the season, how much residual N was in the soil, what the nutritional status of the soil is, gives you a bit of an edge to go, do I invest in this area, do I not? So I think ever so more it's kind of like, well, we've got these technologies, but what financial benefits are they going to bring and where do I fit them? And that's where joining them up with a farm that's well connected and utilising technology right the way through from understanding what's in the soil to what you're surveying from above is really important.
Yeah. Thanks very much indeed, Tom. And we're now going to move on to the next element of the smart connected farm here at Cereals. Let's go. Thank you, Tom. So we're towards the end of our tour when it comes to the smart connected farm, and here we are to talk about digital. Jonny, maybe you can start us off. So where does digital fit within the smart connected farm concept?
Yeah, I mean, we've come in at the end of the podcast here, Tony. You could argue, though, that digital needs to be there right from the beginning. Obviously, in terms of the evolution of agriculture, it's a more modern concept. We've had seeds, we've had elements of nutrition, we've had people, we've had R&D for centuries. Tech is that newest addition to this chain. But in terms of the smart connected farm concept, it is an absolutely critical part of that infrastructure. Other parts are, of course, people and logistics. They're still key parts of it, but digital is a core part of that infrastructure. And the reason for that is that infrastructure needs to bring together the data that is being collected on farm. It needs to make it storable, shareable and analysable, and data needs to be converted into a usable format. Data needs to be turned into information so that it can be used for better decision making on farm to drive profitability and grow better crops.
And Ben, what is the tool or that infrastructure that pulls all of that data together? I know you've got an answer. What is that?
So Agrii's tool is Contour, that's our digital platform. It's been around for a number of years now, but I think development has really accelerated over the last couple of years. And it's really exciting because we've now bringing in crop protection as I guess the final piece of the compliance puzzle for ourselves within Agrii. And on top of that then, Jonny mentioned R&D earlier. We're looking at future developments when it comes to sensors, to drones, which we've got here on site with us, and satellite imagery, what else we can bring from a technology sense. And then funnel that through Contour to provide, like Jonny said, actionable insights to growers. So, typically speaking, growers don't want to be sat in an office looking at reams and reams of data. They just want a bit of software to say, yeah, this is what you need to be doing based off all this information, based off the agronomists sat there and their own knowledge, and then they can just crack on in the field, get spraying, get applying the product they want to put on, and let the digital tools be simple, do what they need to do, even though the data that's coming in is complex, and that's where sort of Agrii and Contour come in, dealing with the complexity of the data but providing a simple output to the grower so they can get on and doing what they do best.
Thanks, Ben. And Jonny, where is the fit with that partnership with TELUS that was launched at the Oxford Farming Conference?
Yeah, so I was just going to add in there, we've talked about data. People might say, well, on my farm, not particularly interested in data. Everybody is to an extent, but the data that's important to you varies by farm. People have different interests in different metrics, and we don't defining what they are right now is not so important. What's important is making sure that we've got the integrations and the capabilities to collect whatever data you need and use that in a decision making, turn that into holistic decision making. We know everything that's going on farm, we've got the data required to make better decisions, and one of the obvious sources of data for that is farm management systems, and our initial integration with TELUS as a farm management system allows us to provide that to customers in terms of two-way movement of data between a key FMS in the UK and Contour, which is that wider data platform to bring everything together.
And Ben, I know you talk with a lot of farm operators and you help them get set up to be able to connect. But what is the core benefit for the farm business? Because that's the reason why so many people have visited cereals today, isn't it?
Absolutely, and I think it's been highlighted particularly this year. Grain prices aren't great, input prices are fairly high. The core thing that we need to be driving for on farm is profitability, and that's where these tools are coming in. It's understanding your fields, and I think being honest with yourself sometimes about which areas of fields are and aren't profitable, and could we take them out and put them into an environmental scheme, or could we reduce inputs on there to better match their yield target? If it's only going to yield 6 tonnes, because it does it every year, only apply 6 tonnes worth of product to that instead of 10. And for me, that's a big one. It is driving profitability, but also then you can look at sustainability, environmental gains. There's an ever-increasing focus on regulation. I think DEFRA have got a target to increase inspections from 4,000 to 6,000 a year. So having your compliance work done in a digital tool rather than on bits of paper and scrappy photos on your phone, so that when the inspector comes on farm, they can just see that it wrapped up in a nice tool, job done, bish bash bosh, away you go. I think that's brilliant for me, and that would be my sort of key message going forwards. I think is profitability, but also that confidence in compliance, because it's all in one tool and ready to go.
And Jonny, just to wrap this section up, in one sentence, how would you describe what digital does within the smart connected farm? There's a challenge for you.
Well, yes. I mean, I like to describe digital as an enabler. So it's back to what I said really right at the beginning. It's having that infrastructure in place. We actually mentioned something very similar on the machinery podcast we did a couple of months ago. It's about having that infrastructure in place so that when you do need that data, you've got it to hand, you can use it in your decision making to make better decisions, and you can use it in your evidencing as well. It's no good trying to rustle up some data last minute when you've got an inspection to prove you did something. It's better to have been collecting that data all along, have it stored in a system, and have the analytical tools, the support tools available to bring that data to the surface when you need it, and make you a more profitable, more compliant farm.
Thank you, gents. Thank you very much indeed.
Awesome. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tony.
So Rachel, we've taken our tour around the stand here at Cereals 2026 and explored the smart connected farm. How would you summarise the value it brings potentially for farmers and growers who are listening today?
So to conclude, Tony, the smart connected farm drives farm profitability for growers around the UK, no matter the scale, system that they're using or the business priorities.
Very powerful statement and really important at this time, isn't it? If anybody wants to get more information, where can they get that?
Yeah, so I'd strongly recommend downloading our latest insight report at agrii.co.uk/insights, or they can click the link in the bio.
Yeah, great. And well, it's obviously a busy event as people walk on by, but that's it from Cereals 2026 for us. Of course, the event is going on for another day, but do join us to listen to more episodes here on Tramlines. Thank you for listening.